Good catch. That's because we do things live. If it was a recorded thing, this didn't happen, but we like to do things live, and I can forget to unmute myself. So hello everyone on YouTube as well. So folks on Discord were hearing what I was saying, but folks on YouTube were not. So I have to reintroduce myself. I am Mattia Tommasone. I'm a developer relations engineer, and I work on the Google Ads API, which means that I host release events monthly, and this is the release event for V23.2 of the Google Ads API, which came out yesterday. So, as I was saying, which some of you heard and some of you didn't, this is a monthly event because we switched to a monthly release cadence for the Google Ads API. This means that we are doing a release a month for the Google Ads API instead of doing one a quarter. And it also means that on any given quarter, we are doing one major release, which was V23, which came out in January, and we are doing two minor releases, V23.1, which came out in February, and V23.2, which came out yesterday. This also means that next month, we're going to be having a major release, which is going to be, of course, V24. This means that the upgrade process from V23.1 to V23.2 should be, in theory at least, as seamless as and as painless as possible, meaning that you just have to upgrade your client libraries and that's it. There are going to be no breaking changes in the API, meaning that you don't have to make any changes to your code to use V23.2. The whole idea behind this new release cadence is for you to be having new features as soon as possible and to adopt new features as quickly as possible without having to be, to have mandatory upgrades several times a year. So if you want to adopt a new minor version, you can, and it should be as seamless as possible. If you're fine staying on V23 or with a client library that uses V23 or on V22, it's also perfectly fine. However, as I'm sure you know if you have been using the Google Ads API for some time now, we also sunset API versions on a regular basis, but this hasn't changed. The sunset schedule didn't change in 2026 from what it was in 2025. So we are going to be sunsetting a major version a quarter. We recently did that in February for V19, and the next sunset is going to be the sunset for V20, which is going to be in June. So roughly, every major version has a lifespan of about a year or so. So V20 came out in summer of 2025, and it will be sunset in summer of 2026. V23, which came out in January, is going to be sunset in January next year. And V24, which is coming up next month, is going to be sunset in April 2027. So again, the whole idea here is that you will get new features as quickly as possible, but if you don't want to be getting any new features and you want to stay on the version that you're using, you can for a year. So, since this is a minor version, I'm not going to be spoiling the content of the release right now, but it's a minor version, so there are no huge game changer changes. I mean, there were in the latest minor version, and I will talk about this later, but what we want to do with this monthly update events is also to give you updates on what's going on around the API, not just in the API itself. So it's not just about new versions of the API, but it's also about new things happening around the API. And this month, I'm actually really happy to be introducing an initiative that my teammate Corey, which is also here in Discord, is piloting and owning. It's called the Ads Devcast. It's a podcast where Corey is going to have guests talking about what's going on in the Ads API, best practices, how you can make the most of how you use the Google Ads API. The first episode, correct me if I'm wrong, sir, is about using AI and agentic technologies with the Google Ads API. So it's a pretty interesting one. I actually had the chance to listen to it and to watch it before it came out, because I have an internal point of view, so I have the previews, and it's really cool. You should take a look. So again, before diving into the meat of V23.2, I also want to take a quick look back to what happened in V23.1. So you can think of this as, previously on the Google Ads API, something like this. If this was a series, I would be saying this. But what happened in V23.1 is two significant changes that I want to highlight again. The first one is interesting to highlight right now because there's a deadline coming up actually next week. It's about the new European Union regulations for political advertising, and there's a deadline that you have to comply with by April 1st. So what we did in V23.1 to help you comply with this is exposing fields that let you know which ones of your campaigns are still missing the declaration of whether or not they are advertising, serving political advertising in the European Union. So if you have campaigns that don't have this declaration, you will be restricted from any campaign mutates starting from April 1st. So by then, you have to have the contains EU political advertising field set in all of your campaigns. And so first of all, if you are creating new campaigns, you should be setting this already because it's required when creating new campaigns. But for existing campaigns, you should be setting the declaration field as well. And you can also retrieve all the campaigns that are still missing these fields, so this would make it easier for you. Again, the deadline is next week, so I would be positive you have dealt with this already, but if you haven't, please do. Then, in V23.1, there was another feature that I was really happy about because I personally worked on this. And when I started working on the Google Ads API back in 2018, I remember developers asking for this. So this has been a long time coming, and I'm really happy we finally landed this. It's the possibility to upload videos to be used as video assets using the Google Ads API. So what you can do is you have a video file, you can upload it to YouTube, and then use the YouTube video as a video asset in your PMAX or demand gen campaigns. So as I said, this was really a long time coming, and I know developers have been adopting this already, and I'm super happy about this. So far, up to now, we have native support only in the Python client library for this, but you can also use REST. So this works with whatever language you're using. And of course, we'll be adding support in the client libraries for all the other languages soon. So without further ado, let's get started with V23.2. This was like a small recap of what happened recently, but what do we have to show in this new version? Well, as I said, it's not really much, because the fact that it's a minor version and the fact that we are doing monthly releases also makes it so that we are shipping fewer releases, fewer features in each release, which may seem like, not too good because every release is a smaller one, but it also makes it easier for you to upgrade. So, we want to make the upgrade process as easy as possible, and doing smaller releases makes it easier for you as developers to adopt only the features that you want. So actually, there is just one feature that I want to highlight in V23.2, and it's a new GECL resource that you can use to retrieve information about automatic video enhancements. So as you know, when you have a video asset, Google Ads can internally and automatically perform some enhancements on these videos. So say, for instance, we can crop them, we can, resize them to make them perform better on some screen formats. Or we can extract highlights from these videos, making them shorter to make sure that the gist of your video ads is going to be captured. All these video enhancements can be now retrieved as if they were new videos by querying the video enhancement resource. So this is new in V23.2, and if you want to know which video enhancements were automatically performed by Google Ads, and if you want to know how they are performing, if they are actually doing better than your original videos or not, you can also query for metrics about each video enhancement. And so we have some more features in V23.2, but this is probably my favorite highlights. I don't know, I mean, sometimes I think I am a little biased personally towards video advertising because it's the part of Google Ads that I work the most with. But so there's a few more features actually in V23.2, and we have a blog post with some more details. And I also invite you, if you want to get the whole list of features, to read the release notes, which is where everything is. So in our live events, we just cover, the highlights, what we think will be the most useful features for developers. And of course, what we think is the most useful for you as developers may not be what you think. So something that we really need from you is feedback. So we want to hear what you think about our live events, what you think about the guy running the live events, what you would like to see in the live events. Would you like for me to dive deeper into features? Would you like me to cover more features and have a broader view? Whatever you like. These events are actually made for you, so you can actually help us make them better. This being said, this is also my favorite slide of the monthly release events, and it means that it's question time. So I will pull up my good teammate Corey for the question time. Hello, sir.
Hey, hello. Can you hear me?
I can.
Awesome. Cool. Hopefully we got the audio fixed. I know YouTube last time it was a little hard to hear me. If folks are having trouble, please feel free to use the chat. Let me know. I have a question for you here.
I hope I have an answer for you.
So, clarifying question regarding the EU political ads enforcement starting April 1st.
Mm-hmm.
Is the requirement for all campaigns or just active ones? An example, will I get blocked if I have an inactive campaign that has EU political fields undeclared?
So first of all, you will not get blocked in that your campaigns are still going to be serving. What you will be blocked from is performing campaign mutates. So if you try mutating a campaign, which may also mean setting the status to active or inactive or to paused, and it doesn't have the EU political advertising declaration after April 1st, you will get an error running that mutate. So basically, what you can set after April 1st is just that field if you don't have all the campaigns complying to that field. Otherwise, any campaign mutation is going to return an error, and that applies to both active and paused campaigns. However, you will not be blocked in that your campaigns are not going to be serving. Your campaigns are still going to be serving. You're just not going to be able to mutate them unless you set the declaration field.
Awesome. One more question for you that we have here. Let me find it. Is support for video upload and other client libraries coming soon?
Well, this is a great question because, as I said, I am actually following this feature closely and I know the answer very well. So, short answer, yes. Longer answer, yes, we are planning to add support for other languages, meaning, the languages we have a client library for. So Java, PHP, C#, Ruby, and Perl. And we are planning to do this soon-ish, meaning between Q2 and Q3 likely. However, this also ties back to the point of gathering feedback from the developer community, because if you have a specific if you as a developer have a specific requirement for a language that we don't cover yet, getting feedback about that may help us prioritize which languages we are going to be adding support for video upload for. Also, when we add video upload support to a client library, this may not necessarily be tied to an API release. So, as you know, we have monthly releases for the API, which also are tied to client library releases. So whenever we have an API release, we also release each client library. But let's say we add video upload support for the Java client library. This may be released outside of the API release schedule. So it may be the case that we do 2 client library releases in a month, where one adds video upload support and one adds support for the latest API version. So this means it may actually happen sooner than you'd expect from the API release schedule.
Awesome.
Any more questions,
okay.
sir?
I'm going to quickly reiterate one here that's in the chat on YouTube for anyone on Discord. So the question was about providing cart data in an adjustment of a conversion after the fact. So just want to quickly reiterate here, based on some data that we've found, the best approach for transmitting cart data to Google Ads is to include it as part of your initial conversion reporting. So in the scenario that was presented here in chat, the best thing to do would be to hold on submitting your conversion, as long as it doesn't go over 7 days, and submitting it with the cart data the first time.
Yeah, thanks for covering this. I know generally speaking, conversions are one of the hottest topics for our developers, because it's one of the ones that have the most complexity. So I totally understand the developers asking questions, and I'm thankful for you answering this.
Awesome. And I think those are the big ones that we had. Anything else that anyone has, though, please don't hesitate to drop them in, join the Discord, drop them in the Ads API channel. We'd love to hear your thoughts. We'd love to chat with you about them. Yep,
we are constantly in the channels, so any questions or feedback, we can help. That's what we do.
Also, just one other thing too. Any questions that you have that you want to ask a person, assuming you are doing some development, we also have the Google Ads API Developer Assistant that could help you answer these questions on your own and even write up some of the code for you. So I'll drop in the video description the link to the Developer Assistant. Definitely worth checking it out. I use it. I love it.
100%.
So give it a try. Let us know what you think.
Yeah. Right. Anything else?
All right.
Well then,
that's all I have.
Let me get you out of the screen and show this, which is a thank you for watching slide. Thanks everyone. I hope you liked it, and I hope you found it useful. I will see you next month. Thanks again.